Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about racial equality and getting it so that white Americans and Native Americans and Black Americans are on equal footing and have equal access and equal power and equal wealth. Because there is an answer for how we maximize the silver lining around the dark cloud of the 2022 war in Europe. Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine. Hope we'll see if Ukraine's all he wants. We're still determining that. And essentially, there's an opportunity here. The 2022 war in Europe, because Zelensky made sure it was a war and not a special military operation and didn't fold like a paper cup when put under stress. Basically, we have been given this Zelensky important gift, right? Which is the opportunity to get white Americans and Black Americans and Native Americans more equal in their ability to earn a real, more than a living wage, but a robust wage, right? Okay, so let's talk about this. All right, so what I want to talk about specifically today is this really powerful story in the New York Times. And essentially it is, they just released it last week, and it's about an 1830s American whaling ship, okay? And it was just found, like this year, in the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. And essentially, U.S. national maritime organizations, historical organizations, and just engaged American citizens helped to find this thing, and then they carefully studied it using underground like submarines, and this was because it was so perfectly preserved, and because there were records that connected to this ship. It gave us this beautiful picture of how to bring racial equality into America, which is something we're still very much struggling to do, right? But this ship, it's called Industry. The name of this 1830s American whaling ship that was staffed by white Americans, Black Americans, and Native Americans. It was staffed, and they were all paid equally. That's the important part here. So this particular whaling ship had a really winsome and joyful history, right? Because at the time, people weren't treated. This is antebellum. This is before the Civil War. So this is antebellum history, which is American history before the Civil War, right? So you have this antebellum 1830s whaling ship, and they had found a path through wealth to bring about racial equality. Boy, that seems attractive, right? Like, so everybody's making money, right? And you're paying people equally. Now, of course, it's antebellum, so it wasn't perfect. What it was incredibly progressive, right? The owners of the ship certainly made more than anybody else, right? But on the ship itself, they know for a fact that minimum Native Americans and Blacks, and even some of the whites were paid. Some of the white Americans were paid equally, right? There was some equality within those three groups, and more, specifically more than was seen at the time, okay? And so this is a good model, not to perfect what we're doing, because their model wasn't perfect, but it was progressive. It was way ahead of their time, right? And so white Americans, Native Americans, and Black Americans, in fact, worked together on the ship, side by side. That didn't always happen, okay? Second, there was, at minimum, the Native Americans and the Black Americans made equal money, right, on this ship, right? And it didn't seem in the article that they paid all the white laborers the same, so that might not have been the case. That, of course, would need to be fixed. But the model here is they were way ahead of their times. They were far more progressive, and they had far more racial equality on this ship than other ships, okay? So how did they do it? Let's talk about that. Here's the model, right? You use the actual real bounty of the earth to provide everyone with wealth. Okay, so what they were doing is they were whaling, right? They go out and they, just get fish and whales, and because it was so plentiful, because it was a whaling ship, because it was so plentiful, there was such a demand for oil back then because we didn't have electric, right? Just the bounty of the earth, right? Go out, kill the whale, cut it up, squeeze out the juice, the oil, right, and sell it, right? It was that simple, right? Well, here we are, right? Vladimir Putin has turned the world upside down, but we're in exactly the same place in the 1830s. We in America have an absolutely massive, virtually unlimited supply of Mother Earth's bounty. Drill, baby, drill can bring about better, more increased, better racial equality, right? So the entire earth needs oil. They don't want to buy it from a global villain anymore, which they're trapped into doing, right? Now, America's pretty much escaped this. We're ahead of the world in almost everything. So we were only buying like 5% of Russian oil because our presidents were like, this is a problem. We need to fix this. So we did. We fixed it, right? And now we've been able to drop that 5% off with no problems. We don't need to buy oil from Russia, right? But Europe still does, right? Europe's in a terrible situation, right? And so America can solve that. We can get white Americans, Native Americans, Black Americans to drill every single national park until it's dry, right? And when we do that, get this, we have a 400-year reserve of oil. So we have more than enough to supply Europe, right? And so when we know that we can completely replace all the oil being having to be bought from Vladimir Putin simply by sinking oil, by drill baby drill on every national park, right? Just suck it up like a straw. I drink your milkshake, right? That is going to be massive, massive, massive amounts of money. And in that exuberant wealth, right, we can accomplish what industry, the 1830s whaling ship, attempted to get all the way to, but never got all the way to. And we could pay everybody equally, and there could be not just a living wage, but an incredibly robust wage for white Americans, Black Americans, and Native Americans working side by side, exactly like the model we saw in industry, but improving on that model, right? So here's the lesson, okay? If we embrace Mother Earth's bounty, right, and use it for the good of humankind, we can improve racial equality and the racial wealth issue in America. Facts. No, I'm sorry. What my daughter says as a joke. It's not facts. That's my opinion, right? And I think if you read the story and you simply, and the reason we can't say facts is we haven't done it yet, right? But there's some very strong evidence that this will actually create real jobs and allow not just a living wage, but an incredibly robust wage for white Americans, Black Americans, and Native Americans working side by side to frack every national park. That is my opinion. I think that's a better future, and that's good for everyone. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking, subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.